Are y'all ready for this? Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So here we are today with a wonderful review. The Anastasia Beverly Hills and Alyssa Edwards eyeshadow palette. I don't know if y'all know, but I'm a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, of just drag. I love Alyssa Edwards. I love her show on Netflix. And when this thing, like, it was confirmed that it was I had a moment. I mean, this thing was like, okay, all right, it's a collaboration with a drag queen. That sounds amazing. It's another bright palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, off the heels of the Riviera palette. It just had so much going in on this. Obviously, your girl had to get it, and you had to review it. I kind of low-key / high-key wanted the PR whatever thing with like the mirror and the fan, and I'm like, you know what, you're moving, and that's just stuff that you're gonna have to move, and you got nowhere to put it, so we just went with the palette. This bad girl right here is going to run you $44. She is limited edition. I purchased mine off of the Anastasia Beverly Hills website. I'm not sure about availability other places. I will obviously leave that, information down below with whatever links will be applicable when this goes up. You are getting 14 shades that are 0.8 grams each, or 0.0 to 8 ounces each. It's a standard Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, size, style, whatever. The packaging is probably my favorite Anastasia Beverly Hills packaging ever. You got the fact that I love pink. You've got the fact that I love this whole eye thing, and then the fact that it's not velvet, there's that, but it's this really nice, super slick, easy to clean material. It's aesthetically pleasing, at least in my opinion. So that has all of that going on for it, and we're now gonna go into swatches and talking a little bit more critically about this. Up till now I have been pretty frothy and excited, but there are some major key points in this palette that I think are going to be very important for, review purposes, and kind of, if you're in the market for a brights palette, what you need to know in comparison to other bright palettes. So here we go right here. We're gonna start going on here. I'm just gonna go whoop like I do. So we are starting with the Supreme going on here. Now, if any of y'all follow me on Snapchat, you would have seen me talking about some of these things, some of the shades and everything like that. And I will say, anytime I do swatches here, do take into consideration that my arm is, sweating. So the swatches may not be the best quality ever. Let me get a little bit more of that headliner white shade going on right here. Just not very impressive in my opinion. It is what I have here on the inner major part of my eyelid. Then we've got HOE, which is just kind of a nice cool toned brown, and then Inspire. Whoo-wee, look at that baby right there. And going on there. Woo! That is just an absolutely fantastic gold. Then we have DDG, which feels very soft and very smooth. It is a much more. These two shimmers here, this one is just classic, just straight up shimmer. These two are like a thicker, more emollient. They're not just classic shimmer formula. Then we have Unicorn Tribe right here. It's what I use to start darkening up this area. So here we have this. It's just a bit thicker and not as just like smooth and shine. I would say this kind of color would be better for like, adding a pop of color to the lower lash line than it would being like an all over shimmer shade on the lid. Then we have BBDC, which is what I then finished darkening up that area there for. This one, it's like pigmented, but it doesn't feel like the regular Anastasia mattes, then this one here is Brick Road, which I will say right off the bat is not the best yellow I have worked with. Not the worst, but it's not exactly Sugar Pill or Colored Rain. Next up is Beyond right here, which kind of the same in the DDG. It's just kind of that thicker texture. It is a little bit chunky. You are going to experience like shimmer fallout with this thing. Then we have Texas Made, which is one of the most like, it's not soft and smooth and buttery. It definitely has a bit of texture to it when you're running your finger up around in there. I don't know if you can see, but I have some flecks of fallout there from that shade. Then here. And I will say, the like pink, red tone, purpley, whatever shades, they are going to stain. I have used these shades with my regular primer. I've used them with a cream eyeshadow as a base. I've used them with a concealer, and no matter what I did, it left some pigmentation behind. Then we have Believe, which is what I have on this area right here. This one is a lot softer than this Texas Made one, and is probably one of the most pigmented and the smoothest of these really like statement bright shades. Then Dream It, which has pretty much the same texture as Texas Made, although it is a lot more just straight up pigmented. So here we are with those going on. I mean, that blue, that is some heckin' pigmentation. Then last but not least, we have got Beast right here, which is very smooth feeling, but it's smooth, but the mattes here are very obviously not Anastasia Beverly Hills regular formula. It's not like Soft Glam, it's not like Nervina, it's not like Modern Renaissance. And back rolls going on right here, which is kind of more of the same. Show you there and there. I mean, the black is okay. It's definitely nothing like absolutely amazing, but it'll work. You can definitely see kind of the sort of pigmentation discrepancy amongst these shades. We all do realize that swatches are not an actual accurate depiction of how a product is going to perform on the eyes, but let's clear these off and let's get into formula as well as performance on the eyes. All right, let's start off. Let's get the positives out of the way here. Love the packaging. Love the fact that it is a collaboration with a drag queen. I think that is just absolutely phenomenal. It opens up the doorway to so many just artistic avenues, and I feel like the whole like drag queen culture and what they've brought to makeup and their artistry skills is really just kind of a slept on subculture in the actual beauty community on a whole. I mean, these ladies have got skills for days, and we can learn so much from their beat. It is just, and I love the representation. Everything about this is a yes aesthetically and everything like that. I think seeing bright colors from Anastasia is something that is phenomenal, even if it is a limited palette, even if it is a limited edition job. The fact that, you know, a more mainstream brand is kind of branching out into that colorful, more unique color theory. And usually looking at this palette, you know, I would be complaining about, well, I don't understand why it has a white in it, like I did with the Riviera palette. But drag makeup is a lot more intense, is a lot more, it has a certain kind of way that it's applied. So this being a palette that is curated by a drag queen, you're gonna want that super intense matte highlight. So in this configuration, I understand the purpose of the white, although it isn't the best white ever. It's actually kind of lame. The bright colors make sense. The intense contrast with this dark brown and the black, and then having more neutral. Oftentimes, you know, you'll carve out the whatever and highlight the brow, and you do that, and then you go in with the dark color, with the colorful one. So from the kind of makeup that Alyssa does and the kind of makeup that she's known for, this color theory, although not necessarily my personal taste when it would come to a rainbow palette, I would consider, the neutral, normal colors kind of throwaways, but if you take everything into consideration, it makes sense. All right, now let's talk about where things get a little convoluted. All right, I am aware, and I know I have to talk about this because there's going to be someone in the comments who's going to be like, oh, well, they're not all eyeshadows, and you don't know how to use those kind of things. You're stupid. Several of these shades are pressed pigments, and I have learned in the past that certain pressed pigment formulas need to be applied and used in a certain way that may not be the typical way I normally apply regular eyeshadow. However, that being said, I have the Colored Rain Vivid Pigments and eyeshadow palette, and those colors I can use any ding-dang way I want. One thing I do have issues with is the fact that, shades like the Unicorn Tribe, the BBDC, Texas Made, Brick Road, this kind of section here, even the Supreme here, they're mattes and they feel nice, but they're not the Anastasia normal formula. If you're expecting to purchase this and be like, well, I know what the Modern Renaissance formula is, you're not going to get that with this. These mattes, especially Beast, Back Rolls, Believe, Dream It, definitely BBDC, definitely Unicorn Tribe, definitely the Supreme, is there's a much more harder pressed formula, so they're not as powdery. Usually I use an Anastasia shade once and there's like 1,000 brush strokes in there and I've used up half the pan because that's just how their formula is. But looking at this, I really dug into the Unicorn Tribe, the BBC, Believe, Dream It, Texas Made, Beast, and the Supreme, and HOE, and even Brick. Yeah, I've been playing with this thing and repeatedly accosting it with my brush. And you can barely tell on some of these. Some of these don't even have brush marks on them because they're just packed so firmly. But in being packed so firmly, they're not very pigmented, and the formula just seems to be a lot more difficult to pick on the brush. Like usually my normal technique is I'll take the brush and kind of doot, 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 and so I'll create that little, that kick up going on in the pan, and then I'll just pick up the kick up and use that. This creates absolutely no kick up, which is kind of great for messiness, but not so great because I find that I'm sitting here just like going into the shades and not getting the kind of payoff that I want or that I'm used to. Also, not all of the shades are conducive to really good blending. Texas Made is great, blends out really nice. That's what I majorly did all up in here. The Supreme blends pretty well. HOE blends really well. This white, I don't want to say it's a joke, but for its intended use, it's not very impressive. I have ones from Sugar Pill and other brands that just really deliver a super opaque, smooth white. This one I applied kind of at the end of doing my eyeshadow, and then I did the rest of my face, and by the time that was finished, I had to apply more. Unicorn Tribe, I have to dig to get the pigmentation. It blends out okay. BBDC, you gotta work real hard to blend. Believe and Dream It are kind of a little bit difficult, but definitely not expert mode, kind of intermediate makeup level. These two shimmers here, the purple and the pink, DDG and Beyond, are they're okay. You get fallout. They're a little bit chunkier. They're not that smooth, reflective, foiled, high shine shimmer that I'm used to from Anastasia. And they're kind of okay. Basically what I'm trying to say here is if you are looking at this palette and you're thinking, this is a palette I am going to get because I want a colorful palette, I wouldn't really recommend it for that. If you're going to get a colorful palette, get even, or if you want ones that have neutrals like this, I would even recommend Lunar Beauty's Life's a Drag palette, the Colored Rain Vivid Pigments and Shadows palette. Heck, even go onto the ColourPop website and pick up colors like this if available and do that, because this palette, although beautiful and cohesive in the sense of what it's supposed to be, it just isn't the most user-friendly. I mean, the colors are pretty, but for the way that you have to work with it, there are just a lot easier and, I mean, if I'm being honest, better bright palettes out there that aren't limited edition, that are going to give you a better experience with creating a bright look. So if that's why you want to get this, like, oh, this is going to be an amazing, perfect, great, bright palette for me, no. If you absolutely love Alyssa Edwards and you're an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, collector, sure, blow $44 on this. But other than that, from a complete just like eyeshadow practicality and formula point of view, I can't recommend this and be like, oh, this is going to be a great palette that you're going to absolutely love the formula on. It's a different formula from what Anastasia Beverly Hills normally does. It's just not as good, honestly, and not as easy or user-friendly of a formula as I've seen from them in the past. So I love it. It's beautiful. It's pretty. It's Alyssa Edwards, but it's not one that I think you need to go out and buy because of what the eyeshadow is. Like I said, if you love Alyssa and you've got all that going for you, yeah, but there are other bright palettes and just other palettes on a whole that I would recommend this from a quality and a formula standpoint of view. Alright, all y'all, there was that review. I honestly haven't watched any other reviews. I'm probably thinking that my opinion and kind of end thoughts are going to be out of the norm. I know a lot of people have been really excited and really just kind of whoo about this palette, which I understand. Seeing brights from Anastasia is fantastic. Seeing, the representation. I love Alyssa Edwards like nobody's business. I highly recommend her show. But compared to other things I've used and just other palettes I've even used from Anastasia, the formula and the workability of this just left a bit to be desired, especially in a palette that is so extreme. It needs to have an easy formula to work with. Obviously, this is just my opinion and my experience. Maybe I don't know diddly squat about makeup. Maybe I don't know how to do makeup. I am not a drag queen. I do not have those sickening makeup skills. Definitely let me know what y'all thought about this down below. If you have the palette, I know quite a few of you have been getting it. Let me know what your experience is with it. And if you agree or totally disagree with me. We all have different experiences and we all have different expectations and different skills, which my skill is kind of like, But thank y'all so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real.